So when I'm thinking about this Chiefs-Eagles game, the main thing for me will go offense first, then defense. Offense is no turnovers. Jalen Hurts minus a safety has no turnovers in the playoffs, and every single game in the playoffs this season so far has been decided by a turnover battle. No team has lost a turnover battle and won the game. The Eagles have been the best team in the league this year at turnover differential. So if we continue that and just not putting the ball in harm's way, I don't know how we can lose. Really, the beginning of the season, the Eagles started 2-2, and it just was not looking great. A lot of turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. And then really after the bye, when Cooper DeJean got added to our defense and we started running the ball more, no one could stop us. No turnovers. I think Hurts had 3 turnovers since that point. And then obviously no turnovers in the playoffs, which was important. Another thing that I look at is A.J. Brown versus man coverage. He was top statistically in PFF grade, yards, catchable targets, catches, touchdowns. And the Chiefs run the 6th most man coverage in the league. I don't know how they're going to stop him. Even a good corner like Trent McDuffie. I mean, you saw it last game against Marshawn Lattimore. He's a good corner, and one-on-one, it's not even a question. Jalen Hurts is throwing it to A.J. Brown. I don't know how the Chiefs are going to stop A.J. Brown if they continue to run as much man as they have in the regular season and in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised to see more zone, just because that's something, obviously, that you got to be worried about with A.J. Brown. But also, in years past, when the Chiefs have run a more zone center defense, Devontae Smith, his worst game against the Chiefs in his career is 6 receptions for 99 yards. I guess his worst game. So even if they run zone, I just don't know in the Philly offense how you can stop everyone. Because you run zone, you got Devontae Smith. You run man, A.J. Brown's beating you. And then you always have to worry about the dual threat in the backfield of Saquon and Hurts. I know Hurts had his knee injury. I think he's fine now. He wasn't on the injury report last time I checked. And that duo had, I think, the most rushing yards in the season, including the playoffs, in history, between Hurts and Barkley. So, I mean, who do you stop if you're the Chiefs? I wouldn't know what to do if I was the defensive coordinator. But, I mean, I expect the offense to be explosive. The last time they played in the Super Bowl, high-scoring game. I think the Eagles will win this game, and I don't think it's going to be as close a score as the last Super Bowl was. One interesting thing to look at is we have sample sizes of A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, all versus the Chiefs, but Saquon Barkley has actually never played them. The Chiefs played the Giants in the regular season a few years back, but Saquon was injured, so I think that will be interesting to see. But really, you don't even need Saquon to get going, like I mentioned, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. Dallas Goedert's been playing his best ball in the playoffs. There's just so many people in this Eagles offense. I don't know how you game plan for all of them. The Commanders certainly didn't know how you were supposed to game plan for all of them. And yeah, I mean, high-scoring game, I feel like, but, I mean, now I'll go with defense. This might be the best Eagles defense I've seen in my life. Like, you go back to last Super Bowl, it was an elite pass rush, and the secondary was kind of the question marks. Obviously, the field was a little slippery last Super Bowl, so we didn't really get home on anything. But now we have kind of the reverse. The secondary is probably the best secondary in the league, at least this season. We run a lot of zone coverage, so it's not big chunk plays that just don't happen. Jaden Daniels last game didn't have one throw over 20 air yards. There was a 49-yard touchdown to McLaurin, but that was only like 10 yards in the air. So the Chiefs will not be able to pick up big plays. They're not going to throw like 60 yards downfield to Worthy. Then going to the D-line, you have Nolan Smith, who's been playing some of his best ball in the playoffs this year. I believe he has 4.5 sacks, which is, I think he's 1 sack away from the Eagles' all-time playoff sack record for a single season. One important thing to look at is Brandon Graham coming back from injury, and that I would like to see him play. But if he's hurt, you can't have him give up a big play just because you want him in the game for like the sentimental value of it's probably his last year and you just want him to be in the game. Because if he lets up a big play just because you want him in the game, that's tough. Like, And I know it's like a tough decision because I feel like you can't take Nolan Smith out of the game if you want to take Brandon Graham in, and only if you think he's like fully healthy. I would not put him in even if he was at 99% on the off chance he lets up something big. But if he was healthy, Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, guys you could sub out. I think the most interesting matchup is going to be Zach Bond kind of on Kelsey. I mean, Zach Bond excellent against zone, excellent against the pass. He's an all-pro for a reason. And really, who saw it coming? I mean, and I know Kelsey's had sort of a down year, but time and time again, he plays his best ball in the playoffs. I think it'll be a good matchup, probably the best matchup we'll see. Kelsey experience, he'll probably get some on Bond, but I mean, Bond's just an absolute playmaker. He's causing fumbles like all the time. I just think that will be the matchup to look at. You know, you got an All-Pro versus Kelsey, greatest tight end of all time probably. But yeah, another big question mark for me is Jake Elliott. He has just been missing extra points, field goals, everything. I was at the Eagles-Packers game, first game of the playoffs, and like literally, he'd go to line up to kick a extra point, and you just be like holding your breath, like. You never know if he's going to make it. I don't know what type of slump he's in, but it is clearly affecting his game in a negative way. And it scares me because like, if the game comes down to a field goal, I really would not have faith for him to make it. Just because his range this season has been just not what it was. Like, even go back to last season, if he's kicking for 50 plus, I'm feeling confident he's making it. And this season, I can't even trust him to line up for an extra point and make it. I don't know if maybe there's some lingering injury that just no one knows about, but that seems very unlikely. I think it's just a mental thing. As someone who I used to practice kicking for fun, after you miss one, you're going to miss a bunch. It's kind of hard to come back from it, but he's getting paid the top dollar to do this, so I mean, he's got to get back in the right headspace because if the Super Bowl comes down to him, we're going to need him.